everybody, it's me, Jill, and welcome to Jill Informed. This is the recap of The Real Housewives of New Jersey, Season 9, Episode 3, The Jersey Breakfast Club. Okay, we are all getting ready for our big trip to Oklahoma. You know, everybody's packing. The only thing missing is that I don't think we have a child jumping in the suitcase. Dolores says to Frank, I don't know what to pack. I don't know what Oklahoma's going to think of, like, these Jersey girls coming. And to the confession cam, she said, everybody thinks New Jersey is mob. But no, not all of us. Then Teresa calls her brother Joe to remind him that she's going to Oklahoma, like he doesn't know. His wife is going too. Teresa has to remind him that she's going and that he should be calling No. Side note, her phone has him listed as Joey Brother, which I understand because, as I told you before, all the men in New Jersey are apparently named Joe. Anyway, Joe is all, the same old story, telling her, I spend every free minute I can with him. I'm busy. So already this is gearing up to be like the big storyline, and I'm not having it. Every season needs to have a really good, juicy storyline. I know that it can't all be like Brooks faking cancer, although, that was delightful. Or Luann getting ready for her big wedding when all signs point to, no, don't do this. Or the next season when Luann slipped out of handcuffs. But can't we have a better storyline than grown son doesn't have enough time for his aging father? Come on, Jersey. I know you can do better than that. Anyway, at Joe and Melissa's house, Joe wants Melissa to tell Teresa, tell my sister to stop bothering me about that. And Melissa's like, no way in hell I am getting between you and your sister. You want her to know something? You tell her. All right, so everybody arrives in Oklahoma. I don't know how boring this trip is going to be, but they're going gaga over cows. That is not a good sign. So they get to this woman's ranch. It's Margaret's friend Polly. So they get there, and first of all, it's very, very windy. So when these ladies are stepping out of the van, there is fake hair flying every which way. And this woman, Polly, is absolutely lovely, and her home is lovely. It's a big, kind of a rustic ranch. But only 6 people can sleep in the house. And one of them has to sleep with Polly. Yeah. And one of them has to sleep out in the front yard in a trailer. Whenever there's a trip like this and there's a weird, sleeping situation, I always ask myself, WWRD, what would Ramona do? I'm telling you one thing, Ramona would not be sleeping with Polly or out in the trailer. So Margaret's assistant, Lexi, she is also on this trip because if you recall, this trip is under the guise of Margaret has to speak with Polly because they are creating the hospital gowns for children. The idea came from Margaret and her assistant, Lexi, I guess. And they're asking this Polly for help because I think she has her own children's clothing line. Anyway, Margaret's assistant, Lexi, drew the short straw, and she has to sleep with Polly. I mean, no offense to Polly, she's lovely. All right, so for the rest of it, the ladies do kind of, scramble around for rooms. Dolores finally agrees to be the one to sleep out in the trailer, and I think I would have done that too, because it's fine and it's private. What ends up happening in the house is that Jennifer's a little bit of a diva, maybe more than a little bit. We'll see. The season is still brand new, and so is she. But she's like, I'll take this room. And Margaret said, no, I've already chosen this room. But you could sleep with me if you want. There's a little room that Teresa has by herself. And then there's another room with 2 twin beds that Melissa is sharing with Jackie. And then the big room that has the queen size bed or whatever it is, Margaret is sharing with Jennifer. And Jennifer, oh my God, Jennifer has packed for a month in, I don't know where Jennifer thought she was going, but she starts pulling out Chanel bag after Chanel bag after Chanel bag. I mean, there's about 6 of them. Again, don't know where she thought she was going. Definitely not a ranch out in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. Okay, next we see Teresa go out to the trailer where Dolores is, and they're talking, and I guess everybody's getting ready for dinner. They're just having dinner there at the ranch. Teresa basically goes out there to kind of gossip about how Joe isn't spending enough time with her dad. Meanwhile, in Melissa and Jackie's room, Melissa is talking to Jackie about pretty much the same thing. She said, my husband's getting really upset. He wants me to talk to his sister, but I don't want to do that. I just want to keep the peace with the family. They can talk to each other. I don't want to get in the middle of it, kind of a thing. Cut back to Teresa and Dolores said, oh yeah, you just like hit the 1-year anniversary of your mom's passing, didn't you? And Teresa's like, don't get me started, because Joe wasn't even around. And I really needed him. She said that Melissa, well, she blames Melissa, planned a trip to the Bahamas for that time. Does it ever occur to you that that's a tough time for Joe too? And that maybe Melissa planned a nice diversion for him? Anyway, Teresa is really just kind of putting this on Melissa because she thinks that if Melissa would just tell Joe to visit his dad more, he would do it. Teresa can't get him to do it, but she thinks Melissa could. So now she's blaming Melissa. Joe doesn't have to take any responsibility for not visiting his father. Now it's Melissa's fault. Anyway, now all the ladies are ready and they go down to dinner, and there's a chef, of course. Okay, and even though they're roomies, I can tell that Margaret is not digging Jennifer very much. First of all, she has everything Chanel. She's got a big Chanel necklace and Chanel earrings. Margaret makes a comment about it, and she said, I'm not really all that into Chanel. And Jennifer goes, oh, really? I am. And Margaret goes, yeah, I can tell. It's not very nice. Then later they're talking about pianos or playing an instrument, something like that. And Jennifer mentions that she has a big white baby grand piano in her house, but nobody plays it. I just wanted a white piano in my new house. Cut over to Margaret, who barely refrains from rolling her eyes at that. She is not feeling Jennifer. Right before they eat, Polly says, oh, we have to go outside and see the sunset. It is spectacular, like nothing you've ever seen. And they go outside and everybody's kind of oohing and eyeing about it, except for Jennifer. Jennifer says, I have an equally great sunset from my house. Yeah, because it's like up high and it overlooks the backyard and you could just see from house. It's an amazing sunset. To the confession cam, Margaret's like, okay, the only thing worse than a Debbie Downer is a one-upper. Jennifer's a one-upper. Anyway, now they all go sit down to eat. This is a cattle ranch that they're on. So, of course, the chef is making some sort of, I don't know, steaks or beef or something. And they talk about Danielle not being there. And Margaret said, well, she's busy with wedding plans and also she's mad at me. So there's that. Oh, poor Teresa had to bring her own food. They start to talk a little bit about her training for this fitness competition. So somebody asked Teresa if she had to eat like that all the time, even after the competition's over. And she's like, oh, no. That prompted Jackie to share with the group that she had a pretty bad eating disorder in the past. I can't remember how it started. Like she had lost some weight and she liked how she looked, and then she just wanted to keep it going. And then she became paranoid about gaining weight, and like one thing led to another. And she, developed anorexia. She had started to weigh her food, like every single morsel of food she put in her mouth, she was weighing. And after she had kids, she was weighing their food. And she realized she cannot put that on her children. And she got herself out of it. And, so everyone was like, wow, oh, I didn't know that. So they leave to go to the other room and sit down in the living room area. And Melissa said that Jackie's opening up has inspired her to open up about something that she hadn't told anybody. I don't know if you guys remember that Conchetta, the medium that was there last year, who told Joe and Teresa about their mother and that she's looking over them and everything's fine. Melissa thought that she was good, and there were a lot of things she knew that made her seem legit. So Melissa then took it upon herself to go to her house sometime later and have a reading with her because she missed her dad. Her dad got in a car accident and he hit a tree, and she was like 17 years old, and it was very hard on her. So she wanted to find out if she could reach her father. And this Conchetta said, "How many sisters do you have?" And she said 2. And she went, "No, your dad wants you to know that you have another one." Melissa said, "I remembered at my dad's funeral that there was this woman who came and like sat in the back row, and nobody knew who she was. But she was sobbing, just really sobbing, and then left, and nobody ever found out who she was. And it was just sort of weird. But now, of course, she's wondering if that was her sister. And she would like to pursue finding her, but she doesn't want to hurt her mom, of course, but she would like to know her." Now, Margaret and the other women are being very sort of supportive during this story, like, "Oh, Melissa, I can't believe it." And Teresa is just very quiet, and she has a look on her face like, I couldn't tell if Teresa already knew this story or if she wasn't buying the story. She just didn't have I'll show you what her face looked like, but it was hard to read. Then to the confession cam, Teresa said, "So Melissa is crying over the sister she doesn't even know she has. Meanwhile, my dad is in our lives, present, and she's not making him a priority. I'm really pissed." I'm sorry. Melissa might have a sister she doesn't know about. That's kind of a big deal. Her father-in-law has a very doting daughter. It's not like she and Joe live in another country and he never sees him. Teresa is fighting to have her and her dad be a priority in her brother's life. I don't agree with that. I think your wife comes first, and Teresa needs to get over it. He isn't not seeing him at all. I don't get it. Anyway, everyone kind of goes to bed after that, and the next morning we wake up to a cow mooing. Margaret is making breakfast for everybody that morning. Teresa gets up early to go running. She's got her bikini fitness competition coming up, and just because she's on vacation, she can't stop exercising. So she gets up to go off running, and her running is very, very odd. She runs almost like she can't bend her knees very much, or like maybe she runs like I would imagine No runs. Okay, so like I said, Margaret is making breakfast and it looks good. There's like homemade biscuits and the eggs and everything, except for what looks like 2 slabs of liver. That looks gross and I wasn't sure what that was. Turns out it's turkey bacon for Teresa. Teresa gets back from her run. She goes into her room and she's talking to No on the phone and finds out that Joe is coming over that night and gonna take him out. And she's like, "Okay, that's good." I can't do Teresa's voice. It's very nasally. "Joe." "Yeah, Joe." I cannot do Teresa. I don't know why. So then to the confession cam, she said, "So this is how I get my brother to spend time with my dad. Make sure Melissa's not there. It's clear that when she's around, he's choosing her over my dad." Yeah, she's his wife. That should also be clear to you. All right, so back to the ladies. The plan for the day is that some of them are going to go fishing and the others are going to go target shooting. That is not a great choice. Sorry. I don't want to do either. I don't like guns. I wouldn't want to target shoot. And I don't want to catch a fish. I'm not touching anything slimy, number one, so I'm not putting bait on there. And then if I happen to catch a fish, I'm not going to get it off the hook. You know, I'm not a vegetarian. I eat meat, I eat fish. I'm not like a super duper animal lover, but catching fish as a sport seems a little cruel. They're biting this sharp hook. You're yanking them out of where they can breathe. And then you pull it out and you throw them back in. Doesn't their mouth still hurt from the hook? And I just don't understand the appeal. That's just me. You guys could have another opinion. I know a lot of people that think it's very relaxing. I think reading a book is very relaxing. That's what makes the world go round. We all like different things. Okay, so before they go off and do their activities, they are sitting down to breakfast. And Teresa, even though she got good news from her phone call with Nono, that Joe was going to spend time with him, she really just wanted to start something with Melissa. So she comes to the table and says, guess what, Melissa? Joe's going over to spend time with my dad. Melissa's like, oh, good. You seem surprised by that. Well, yeah, I am surprised. Because when you're around, he doesn't see him at all. And she's like, what are you talking about? He sees him whenever he can. I mean, he barely sees his own sons. Then she's like, you know what? Let's just talk about this when we're alone, okay? I don't want to talk about it with all these people sitting here at the table. But no, Teresa won't stop. And now Dolores adds her 2 cents. Dolores says, I think what she's saying is that when you're around, Joe doesn't have time to spend with his father. Okay. He has a wife and 4,000 children. So Melissa goes, don't say that. And Dolores goes, you went away on the anniversary of his mother's death. And Melissa's like, you know what? This is none of your business. So you really need to stop talking about it. And Melissa ends up saying to Teresa, you need to talk to your own brother about it because he's about to explode. And Teresa goes, then you should make him not explode. Melissa, I can't control him. He's a grown man. He does what he wants. And Teresa goes, he's your husband. You should be able to control him. Melissa, can you control your husband? Teresa, yeah, I can. Oh, God. To the confession cam, Melissa goes, do you even hear yourself? You went to prison for a year because of your husband. Anyway, it turns out that Margaret, Teresa, Dolores, and Jennifer are going fishing, and just Melissa and Jackie are going to the shooting range. That whole thing ends up really stupid. I don't know that they were at either of these activities for very long because the guy that was training them on how to shoot this target, Melissa couldn't even stand the sound of the gun going off. So she didn't want to do it. She didn't want to go anywhere near it, even though that's the activity she chose. Jackie did do it. I guess she hit the target. I don't know. We didn't really see. It was far away. So she feels good about herself, like she's the badass Jewish kid from Jersey. And with the ladies who were fishing, Teresa caught a fish. The others didn't. I don't even think they tried. I was shocked that Jennifer was even there, but she was. Yeah, all in all, I feel like it wasn't a super fun-filled day. Meanwhile, we cut back to New Jersey, and Joe is home alone with the kids, and good God, they're running around insane. I mean, what's happening here? I don't understand it. Even undisciplined children get tired sometimes, don't they? I don't know how they maintain that level of cuckoo crazy, but they do. He has this conversation with Antonia. He asked her, what do you want to be when you grow up or something? And she said, like, I want to be like mom, like have my own business or whatever. And he goes, don't you want to be a housewife? That's what he wants for her. I want you to get married and have kids and be a housewife. What the hell is wrong with these people from New Jersey? I mean, I get that it's a whole provincial thing, but your aspirations for your daughter are for her to become a housewife? Oh, wow. Way to reach for the stars for her, Joe. Anyway, Joe is realizing that back in the day when he used to think that Joe Giudice was getting in his father's ear and telling him that his son's not good enough and telling him bad things about him, that maybe it wasn't Joe Giudice at all. He's starting to think that maybe it was Teresa all along. He just feels like the wedge between him and his dad is egged on by Teresa. Okay, so back to Oklahoma. The separate groups of ladies are now done with their activities and they're back at the ranch talking, but not all together. Jackie and Melissa are talking and the other 4 are talking. Jennifer says she understands Teresa's side of it because Jennifer is very family oriented too. And she's like, so I get it. And Teresa's like, yeah, thank you. And she doesn't even know the situation and she understands it already. She probably understands it because she doesn't really know the situation. But Margaret said, I see both sides of it. She was actually kind of feeling bad that it seemed like she was taking Teresa's side over Melissa's, because she does see both sides, which I do too, actually. I know it seems like I'm just taking Melissa's side, but I do understand Teresa wanting more help with No-No and not wanting the whole entire burden of No-No on her. I get that. I just think she's going about it the wrong way. She's not gonna get Joe to spend more time by trying to guilt him into it. Anyway, then everyone goes shopping to like a Western store for cowboy hats and boots, and I don't know, whatever. They all go except Melissa, who decides to hang back and stay in her room because she just wants to put some distance between her and Teresa. She's like, I feel like it's better when we take a little break from each other. And also Margaret and her assistant don't go either because they are having their little meeting with Polly about the hospital heroes. When the girls who are going shopping get in the van, Jackie, in a very misguided way, feels like she has to sort of fight Melissa's battle for her. That's not going to go well for you in any way, shape, or form. You've got Teresa and her bulldog, Dolores. Dolores is fighting for Teresa the way she fought for Siggy last season. Right or wrong, she will back you up and be in your corner. And now she's doing that with Teresa, so it's not a good idea, Jackie. You are not going to win, girl. Okay, so while the girls are shopping at that Western store, after Margaret's meeting, she decides to go seek out Melissa and go for a walk with her around the ranch and kind of let her know that she's sorry if it came off as though she were just on Teresa's side, because she isn't, and she understands it's a complicated thing. So they have a good talk. And based on some of the things that they talked about, when the others got back to the ranch before dinner, Melissa decided to go to Teresa's room and talk to her. Basically, she says to her, I don't want to get in the middle of this family thing. And when you have issues with Joe, you have to talk to Joe. And I told Joe the same thing. He needs to talk to you. I don't want to be in the middle of this. I see the anger you have toward me, and I don't know if you will ever love me like a sister. To the confession cam, Teresa goes, who cares? That's not the point. The point is, I'm trying to get my brother to spend more time with my dad. Do you capiche? Oh, God. Enough with the capiche. And that was just like super mean. That is totally Teresa saying, no, I'm never going to see you like my sister. Don't be ridiculous. But she needs to stop. Now it's up to Joe. That's my feeling. Anyway, they do decide to put a pin in it for now so that they can enjoy the rest of the trip. And they hug, and then they're going down to dinner. And that is where this episode ends. Next week, we still have some more fun in Oklahoma, and it looks like more fun between Margaret and Jennifer. We shall see. All right, I am not going to open the viewer mailbag this week. At the time of this filming, we had just celebrated Thanksgiving in America, so it's been a busy week for me, and I have not had a chance to respond to any of your comments or questions yet, or even really look at everything, but I'll get back to that in the next video, okay? All right, I hope you guys who celebrated Thanksgiving had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and for everybody else, I hope you had a wonderful week as well. Thank you so much for joining me. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Please give this video a thumbs up. And even though I didn't have a chance to respond, I always look at comments, so please comment down below. I love to hear from you guys. I hope you will join me next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Time for the next recap of The Real Housewives of New Jersey. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.